Welcome to another Quantum Conversation, brought to you by AcousticHealth.com. I'm Loren Gailey, and I invite you to sit back as we enter the quantum realm, that space of the greater part of you. It is your connection to infinite possibilities, infinite potential, and infinite mastery. Oh, welcome everyone. Here we are in our first quantum conversation of 2024, and we are really excited to be here today. We have got a beautiful guest, Jules Arnes, and she has been working incredible stuff with the DNA and really how we can take advantage of controlling, awakening our DNA and doing those codes within us, really being in the driver's seat in our life. Today, we're talking about awakening DNA intelligence for wealth consciousness, creating abundance beyond the matrix. Hi, Jules. Welcome.
Thank you, Lauren. Gosh, as you said that, I had this little, my heart opened and it was like, yes, I want to do that. It's so exciting what we're moving into. This is going to be an incredible year. And I had no idea this was your first Quantum Conversations of 2024. I feel so honored.
I welcome everyone here. And we were talking about the energies through the solstice of the winter and how it was really adjusting people. It was a test of how can we truly stay in our heart in the face of everything. And so here we are. It feels like we're free from those Christmas holiday energies. We are fully anchored in the new. And this is an 8 year, an infinite year of possibilities. And, an 8 signifies abundance and all of that. So as we're talking about awakening DNA intelligence, tell us more about what you have learned and how we do that.
Well, I know there's a lot of different ways that we can do that, but it has definitely been a passion of mine to ascend, if you will, the physical body. And I feel like I'm really getting it dialed in. I've had even just these last couple of weeks since we've moved into 2024 has really opened up a lot of consciousness even for myself in this work. And that's why I love this work is that it's always groundbreaking, right? Because we're always tapping into the next. And that really is my passion. It's not tapping into something and hanging out there. It's tapping into it and it's going, keep going, keep going, keep going. And that's a big part of DNA ascension. I call it cell ascension because our cells are already multidimensional and they hold an intelligence that's transcribed there. And I actually just this morning had this huge download on the multidimensionality of the DNA, but it's more than that because the DNA, yes, is transcribed. We're awakening it, we're decoding it. And in that, we're elevating the frequency of the body because the body, most people, they've measured the physical body right around 7.5 hertz. I'm guessing if you're listening to this, you're probably a little over 8. The DNA frequency, our physical DNA, if you measure the frequency of the codes that are in it, is 963. That's a huge difference. And that's where the other 90% of our potential is stored. And so that is my passion is to unlock that other 90% and then learn how to hold consciousness in it. And then, of course, we get to use our passion in exploring what that consciousness is saying, or the intelligence is saying consciously, you could say.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that is really interesting as we can be in charge of that DNA. So when we're talking wealth consciousness, we definitely have to be moving out of poverty consciousness. There's a lot of belief systems there. So how does that operate then? Do we become aware? Because it's in our DNA then, right? Poverty consciousness would be in our DNA. So when we're activating wealth consciousness, we're flipping the switch. We are actually doing the exact opposite. And that's all through awareness, right?
Yeah, it is, but this is where I feel like we can actually, our body wants to support us in moving it because our body doesn't want to just function at 10 to 12% of its potential.
Right.
And but it is because we are in an observed state of our reality, and the reality that we're observing is the illusion itself. And when we start to activate the DNA, our cells immediately respond because they recognize that as their, if you want to put the word home there, or their innate being. But the way that the DNA is working right now is very distorted because we are consistently looking into our reality to see what is true. Our DNA is doing that as well. And even Bruce Lipton has all of the studies around how epigenetic codes are turned on. Well, it's because the cells are observing the environment of the body. Well, the same thing is happening on a DNA level, is that our cells are observing the environment of our body. We're observing the environment of our reality, and it's all distorted. It's all the illusion. So when we start to turn on the DNA codes, our cells immediately know that's what I really am. And so the cells begin to resonate in the frequency of 963, which is actually measured as source frequency. And then all of a sudden, the cells stop observing into the environment where lack, distortion, all of those different programs are existing, and start to move into the consciousness or the intelligence that's stored in the DNA. And then your body starts to raise in frequency. Where is your consciousness? In the body. So you immediately start to become aware, that's not true. That's not true. That's not true. And it's not hard. It's just information.
So your process as you've done this, and we have to talk a little bit about DMT, that
Mm.
because that's really what you've been working with lately, and it really is fascinating. Even the whole story of how that came to you is really quite fascinating. So for those who are not aware, I mean, this is your connection beyond the veil. There was a very dear friend of yours who passed, and this is how that was revealed. So share that story as you talk more about how DMT relates to all of this.
So it's interesting that you just used a Beyond the Veil because his name was actually Vale, Vale. And so Vale passed away on his 22nd birthday. And a couple of weeks after he passed, he came to me. And gosh, the first thing he said was, it's not supposed to be this way. And I knew he was saying we're not supposed to die, but it was so much more than that because the life and death cycle is the observation of time. I mean, if you think about what creates time, it's when we are in creation of something and we're observing it, that creates form, but it also creates time. And then we continue to observe whatever that is, and then we can trace the future and the past. And all of a sudden, we're holding consciousness in this really, really long timeline that is all created through observation. Well, in observation, because you're observing something beyond that innate frequency, it's distorted. The only way that you can actually hold the frequency of source consciously is to attune consciousness into the frequency of 963 and express it. That is the distortion that he first showed me. And he had me write down, this is part of what happened this morning, and I'm going to save it for another show with you, Lauren, because I haven't quite got it dialed in, but it's so close. And I'll definitely be reaching out because it's going to be a part of something I'm offering in the summer. But what he was showing is the flower of life and how all of the loops. So you think you break out of one loop and then you go into another loop and then you think you're out of that and then you go into another one. And so he showed me, well, this is how you can break it. That's where the DMT comes in. So when we're born, DMT is a chemical that is released through the pineal gland. And it also is released when we die. When it's released, when we are born, is it transcribes the intelligence of source in our DNA so that it's never lost. We have consciousness, but because we're in a dimensional space where we are observing, consciousness is held in the electrons of our body. When DMT begins to release, when we activate our DNA, it connects to the electrons and they merge together and start to create a system. It's like a software system. And then the body starts to identify in the software system. Well, consciousness and DMT, or the frequency of source, meet. And that's why we can have the experience of ascending the body, because that's the innate state of the body. But right now, when we die, that same chemical is released, and then all of the electrons leave the body, reconnect to it, and we become source again. And what he was showing, as we release the frequency of DMT or we activate the codes that are in the DNA, we can start to attune our consciousness to that without having to die. And that is literally ascending the cells and ascending our body till we become source in new form, I'm going to say, because we will not be the same thing that we're experiencing now.
Okay. Wow, it really is fascinating, and it's such a heartfelt story as well. All right, so the 963 awakening codes, that really is quite fascinating. And those three numbers are really powerful in themselves, the three. Explain a little bit more about the significance of those numbers.
So thank you for saying that. I feel like to know that 963 is the measured frequency of source in a hertz wave. When we're activating DMT, it's definitely on a scalar wave. So it's not something that can diminish over time and space. And that's what we use in all of our scalar technology, is scalar frequency. But the numbers themselves, what I think is really interesting is, so 963 is, if you break it all down, is really a 9. Right. So if you use numerology, so because 6 plus 3 is 9, 9 reflects 9. And in a big part of my teachings, 9 reflects 9 is God reflects God. So when the DNA is activating that frequency of 963, well, what is God reflecting God? It's the frequency of source and your consciousness reflecting that. And then you learn to attune the two. And what I love about it is, if you think about, so if it's 9 and 9, so how many nines are what in the reflection? How many people are there? There's 2. Well, the one thing, and then that creates a bridge from source to consciousness. And the one number that you can add to 9 to break through to the mastery is 2. 9 plus 2 is 11. That's Christ consciousness. It literally is coded in our DNA.
Wow. Okay. Fascinating. It really is fascinating. And so, how the next question is, how do we attune? Do we just connect with source and just let that feeling wash over to us, or how do we do that?
So that is where and that's in this next series of the wealth consciousness, it really is bringing life to the DNA, to the codes. And when we activate the codes, each code has an intelligence. Each code is the frequency of 963. So the way you can look at it is almost like everything is in 963, but it's a lot for our consciousness to know everything in that frequency. So we just put in, okay, well, I want to know that frequency as this. And then you have something to focus on. So if it's the 8, then we can focus on, what is it to be in the frequency of 963 in abundance. Well, when we're activating this on a physical level, and it really is a physical experience, you start to create what I call the quantum body. You start to create a software system that's holding the intelligence of source, and your body starts to move into that frequency. Well, the same thing we can do with our consciousness. We start to move our consciousness, our thoughts, the way we think, into the system. And the system is always running. It's very steady. It's always in the frequency of 963. So we always have somewhere to go. What I love about this next course that I'm offering as part of this package is that we are doing it through DMT avatars. So we're attuning, each code is connected to an avatar. And I actually have two people that I'm testing this on right now. And it has been, I have to say, it's been more powerful than what I was expecting. And it truly is elevating the frequency of the body. It's shifting the way that we think. But what I like about it is it gives us a very clear direction on how to attune consciousness to the experience of the codes, because we're doing it through an identity. Identity is one of the biggest reasons that people get stuck, because they only identify in who they are as they are. And when we try to change, they have to move their consciousness into a frequency that they don't identify in. And a lot of times, if they don't have the tools, it's really hard to hold consciousness in an abstract frequency. But if you have something that you're tuning to and becoming in that frequency, you have something to give your ego when it wants to go back into the place you were before. So you can see that as money, you can see that as losing weight, you can see that as creating. It's all the same, but we're going to focus on creating wealth.
Great. Okay. And you are going to share more on that program, and we'll get to that in just a moment. There are some questions around this 963 frequency. And so here's one. I'm going to combine these two. Tesla is said to have worked with 369, and it's considered it as magical. So is 963 the same, at the same level of frequency? And my question on that is, when we're talking frequency, it reminds us of, is it David Hawkins and the frequency of the vibrations? You know, we know that shame is the lowest frequency on a human level. And so the 963 is source. It would be the ascended human. So we're really attuning to what we originally are.
Exactly. That's why it is transcribed in our DNA. That is our innate being. But then we're born into a dimension where everything is based on observation, and the observation is distorted. So when we're looking in our reality as, oh, this is even my hand, like this is the desk, this is the computer, this is Lauren. We're naming everything, but everything that is being named, we're naming from a frequency that is not source, because in order to actually be in the expression of source, there is no observation. So that's how we can use reality, though, as information, because we can see what it is, but we know that's not what it is. And then we start to, I call it the 1 to the 2 to the 3. So we never meet the frequency of what we're seeing because we know it's the illusion. We meet it to receive information. And then we're like, okay, well, if that's not it, what is it? Well, we're conscious beings. We have the ability to bring our consciousness outside of our experience. And so we attune our consciousness to what's next. And that's what I call intuitive powers. It's when we start to see without seeing, hear without hearing, know without knowing, and sensing without having to touch something. That's all the 10% of our experience. We're looking at attuning to the other 90%, which you cannot see. It cannot be measured. It is truly becoming something that we all know is true on an innate level, but we've been trained to not believe in it.
Yes, yes. And we've been trained to pay more attention to our worries and doubts than the dreams that we have. All right. Well, it's fascinating work, because I know that everyone watching this or tuning into it at any time really is ready to accelerate in this way and to achieve the abundance. So if the frequency, I'm reminded as well, it really, when they say raise your frequency, this is what we're talking about. So we're raising our frequency and manifesting from that way. And we know New Earth, we've heard several times from the Arcturians and from other spiritual teachers that New Earth is a frequency. So really, we are dropping density to raise our frequency, and we're doing it on a cellular level. So as you go through this, what changes do you feel in your own body as you've experienced and experimented with this? Do you just feel happy and blissful? And I don't know if I froze or if you froze.
Absolutely. Can you hear me okay, Lauren? You kind of froze just a little bit.
Okay, I was the one who froze. I thought you froze.
Mhm.
Go,
I
yeah,
think I might be losing my
keep talking. It'll stay.
yeah, you're frozen on my. Give me one moment. Is
Okay.
it back? I think it might be back.
Yeah. Zoom,
Okay.
an uncanny ability of like catching up to warp speed. It really is beautiful. Okay. All right. So that question is, what do you feel? How is that for you? Are we just anchoring bliss?
Yeah, I feel like when we really start to activate, we, how do I say this? We start to live just in each moment
Uh-huh.
as the intelligence. And so that part of us that wants to say, this is a good experience, this is a bad experience, I feel this, I feel this, I'm living at a high frequency, all of that goes away. And we just feel still. We feel
Mm.
very clear and very connected, but we're not sitting around thinking about that. We just are. It's kind of like all of the chatter starts to go away. But then, just on a physical level, I can say for myself, I'm definitely changing, right? I mean, I can tell that I am reversing aging, and my genetic testing is actually proving that now. I went from my telomere age being 37 to 19 in 10 months. It's doing something, right? Like this is doing something that it kind of, when I sit back and I actually look at it, it kind of blows my mind. But then I don't sit back and look at it very often because I want to be in it. I want to be in the frequency. And when you're in the field, you know you're in the field, but you also know when you're not. And once we have that awareness, we're pretty much unstoppable because then all we have to do is shift back into the field. And once we're there, it's just listen and do, listen and do, listen and do. And we're not doing it for outcome. We're not doing it because we want to make $1 million. We're not doing it because of this. We're not going, all of that goes away because where we're going and even what wealth is, right? What is abundance? Our concept of abundance is so distorted. It's such a small part of what it really is. And that's what I want to tap into is what is this really? Because even our imagination can't take us to the place of just think what is abundance in the frequency of source. We have no concept. That's the point, because that gives us a focal point to move into consciously. And we can do that through frequency.
Wow. Okay. So, let's go. I'm going to have you share with us a little way that we can tap into that frequency, like for an example, because I think we can say, oh, I'm having a human moment where I'm letting other people affect my energy, or I'm getting disturbed, or I'm getting triggered by this. But
Mhm.
those are actually where we have the opportunity to sit and be so immaculately aware that we step out of it. So that would just be a moment to be aware. All right. Let's circle back to this question.
Okay.
963. And the 369, I don't know if this question is referring to a frequency, but I'm assuming when Liz says Tesla is said to have worked with 369, was it just, do we know if it's just the numbers or was it the hertz of 369? Because those are the same three numbers, but what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, what I'm tapping into immediately is that Tesla worked with scalar, not hertz. So I feel like it's important to define the difference because a hertz wave, you can see it like strumming a guitar.
Uh-huh.
You strum the guitar, and then after a few moments, you don't hear it anymore. And if you, even if you can't hear, you can feel the vibration of it, right? If you're close enough to an instrument, you can feel the vibration in your body, but eventually it goes away once it stops. That's a Hertz wave. It diminishes over time and space.
Okay.
A scalar wave would be something that you can put into a specific frequency. So it would say we just choose the frequency of joy, or what's a good one? Love 528 is measured in hertz. But if you convert that into a scalar frequency, it doesn't diminish over time and space. It's always 528. So you can't alter it, you can't diminish it, it's forever. Well, now this is the way you can see the body. Our body right now, because it's in a third dimensional space where we're creating timelines, is in a Hertz wave. That's why they can measure it at the physical body is 7.5 Hertz waves. But when we start to activate the DNA, we become quantum. Then that Hertz wave becomes a scalar wave. And so at that point, our body is already the frequency of 963. We're just not experiencing it because we're holding consciousness over here in a distortion of a Hertz wave. But once we start to transfer our consciousness and we start to tap into this, we may only be able to hold consciousness at, let's say, 528. And we know what that feels like in a Hertz wave. It can be up and down depending on what's going on in our lives around how we would experience love. But when we plug into a scalar frequency of love, it's a completely different experience because it's a feeling, not an emotion, and it never alters. It's the same if I'm talking to you, my brother, my significant other, my daughter. The frequency of love is the frequency of love, and it doesn't alter depending on what's going on around you. This is what we're moving into as the new human experience, is that we become scalar versus hertz.
Wow. Okay. Thank you for that clarification. If anybody has questions for Jules, please put it in the Q&A box. We will answer those questions for you. And Jules, you're going to talk about this program, ways that people can work with these frequencies and become more scalar, attuning with that rather than the hertz. Can you share with us maybe a little process for a few moments of how we can begin to work with this?
Mhm. Yeah,
Yes.
I'd love to. So what I'll do is we'll activate the DMT avatar of the manifester slash magician. So, and I'll do it through. So, what I'd like to do, we'll do this little process and I'll activate with the DMT codes, and then I'll have everyone step into the frequency of the DMT avatar as just so you can feel what it feels like, what the experience of it is. So right now, before I start though, think of something you want to manifest in intention. Intention, we have to know what this is. An intention, depending on where it's coming from. But most of us are creating an intention from our programming. And it's like, as long as we're aware that that's what we're doing, we can use intention as a focal point Because if we're creating an intention that's outside of what we're experiencing right now, we're immediately turning on a frequency that's higher than where we're holding it. That's what we want to do. It's what we do to actually get here that gets everybody tripped up, right? So there's nothing wrong with creating an intention. It's what you do afterwards that matters. And that's where that's a whole nother probably interview with that, but we'll at least activate this. And then I would love to hear what everybody is feeling. And of course, I want to hear what happens a week or two from now. So go ahead and think of an intention. I was going to do 963, but I'm getting not to do that and just randomly pick what we need to bring through. So I'll read it as I activate and then we'll attune to the 8. Okay, so what we got, I'm just going to show you the cards first. So I'm going to read them really quickly. So we have the 2, which I think it's funny. I just put it up. Like, this is the smiley face. So this is the bridge between, you could say, spirit and form. It's the connector frequency. And then I drew the 5, which is the shift. It's the change. It's the ability to hold consciousness as something is changing. So this would be the mastery of holding consciousness in an abstract frequency, because you're always shifting to what is next. And then the last code is the 11, which is breaking out of the matrix. So now we'll go ahead and I'm just going to do the attunement real quick. And then I want to kind of focus on activating the manifesting avatar. Okay, so go ahead and just look at the code. And then when you feel like you have met the frequency of the code, go ahead and shut your eyes. And you're going to feel as the connector frequency moves through your brain. And it's activating a brainwave beyond what can be measured. It's connecting consciousness to the frequency of 963. And then just bringing the code into the pineal gland, allowing it to spin. And as it spins, it's activating the DNA of every cell of your body, upgrading your software system, turning on that quantum body. And then we'll go to the code number 5. If you want to open your eyes back up and just looking at the 5. As the frequency of the code moves through your mind, activating the part of the mind where you can hold consciousness in an abstract frequency, allowing it to move into the pineal gland and allowing it to spin as it activates every cell of your body, bringing that frequency of 963, connecting it to the consciousness, the electrons of your body, and upgrading your software system. And then we'll go to the 11th code. And as the 11th code moves through your mind, just feeling how it feels a little bit different, as it allows you to hold consciousness outside of your programming, outside of the programmed reality of the matrix, allows you to hold consciousness in the purity of 963, allows you to create beyond observation, attachment, outcome. Just feeling this as it activates your body. So your body already knows that it's quantum. It already knows it's the frequency of source. And now I just invite you to place your hands on your heart and just noticing the vibration of your body. And from this place, sensing, just using whatever intuitive power that you feel most connected to, experience your quantum body. You can see it like a light grid system, almost like at the inside of a computer, as you light up with this intelligence of source. This is the quantum experience of your body. And now we're going to activate the DMT avatar of the magician, the manifester. So as we call in this frequency to be released from your DNA, you're going to sense, hear, see, or know a very high-pitched frequency. It's almost like somebody's scratching their fingernails down a chalkboard. It's so intense, but allow yourself to surrender into this frequency. As the frequency of the DMT avatar of the magician attunes into your quantum body, now allowing yourself to put all of your thoughts into the experience of your quantum body. It's almost like you're uploading your thoughts into this grid system, into your quantum technology that is your body. And from here, just placing your intention into the software system. And then just taking a moment to witness. Witness what it is to be in the manifestation of wealth, abundance, as the intelligence of source, as a manifester of source. Your body has everything you need to know. It's within this organic technology of source that anything is possible, that anything is probable. And then just taking in a deep breath. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes.
Wow. Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that and allowing us to truly feel what was going on there.
Mhm.
Each of those three of the three cards, I felt they did feel differently.
Mhm.
And when we gosh, I mean, it was I don't want to go too much into it. I'm just caught up on the feeling of each of them. But then as we were feeling in the quantum body, I got really warm,
Mhm.
like really warm, almost ready to sweat. It was really beautiful. And now it's all calmed down. But there was a moment of no thought.
Mhm.
And that's what we're after as well. Again, I love that stillness. And so you've done a beautiful job expressing really a science behind it, where maybe at times of bliss in our life, we are not even aware that
Mhm.
this is happening. But you have explained it so well. And now we know what that is.
Mhm.
It's behind this feeling of attunement. Isn't that amazing?
Yes, I love that. And I think from here, it's what I love about using the DMT avatar is that the avatar is created through the frequency of source. And we just attuned your body. So now your body knows this.
Mhm.
And then now you get to participate consciously in that frequency. And when we're focusing on an identity, if you will, and that identity is source, it takes away all of the static because you're pushing your consciousness consistently into this frequency and you're just focusing on one aspect of source, but at least you're focusing on source. And when we surrender our mind and we surrender our thoughts, and when I say push, I really mean that. It's like I get my thoughts, I put it that because your thoughts are really all in your body. You know, we have all the electric stuff that's happening in our brain, but consciousness is the body. And I literally see all of my thoughts and I see my quantum body. I see that blue light system and I push my thoughts into it. And that's when everything goes blank. But I'm fully aware, right? I'm fully aware. I'm crystal clear. In that moment, it's like if you asked me a question, I could come up with the answer. In that moment, if you were like, go play a game of golf and I've never played a game of golf, I would do it perfectly because that's the experience of the advanced human. We just have to learn to master it.
It's exciting because it is what we are becoming. We are becoming this, and I love it. Really very cool. I want to share some of the comments coming in. We have Floor who says, I felt a profound serenity and inner power. Yes. Anchoring, another one says, and beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Awesome. Mare says, I heard the sound above my right side on top of my head and then stillness.
Mm.
Awesome. Yeah. I didn't hear the sound, but when you were talking about that sound, yes, I was sensing it and feeling it, but that's when the warmth came from me. I mean, it was like remarkable, remarkable. And I wasn't moving my body. We were just sitting here. And that right there is an example of how we are responding to it. So as we and now there's no word. I mean, I feel empowered. There's another person, yeah, empowerment. This is really powerful when we can come up with solutions now,
Mm.
manifestations now. I love how you're using it because we're not victims here. We're really going quantum. And so when we move forward in this and manifest, you've got a 12-week series that's coming up that we can talk about. But when we go and manifest this, your students that have been through this process, are they triggered anymore, or what are some of the things that they're going through?
So what I hear a lot is the one thing that comes right pretty much right away is the awareness of if they're in their programming or if they're in their attuning to the intelligence, knowing that whatever they're attuning to is only part of it. And that opens up a lot of evolution because any one truth is only true for a short amount of time, right? And they've really learned to shift as they go. And so with that, what I hear a lot is it's just so much easier than we thought, right? That's what I hear over and over again is, oh my gosh, it's so easy. It's like, why has it been so hard until this point and now it's so easy? And it's like, well, what is so easy? It's what I just said, right? And because when we stay over here in our programming is when we're judging and we're naming, I'm this, I'm that, this is that, this, but, and that's all of the distortion that we're naming. And when we learn how to actually move our consciousness to that scale from a hertz that's, we're on this roller coaster. Or we're over here. And even if we're just tapping into like 400, that's a lot higher than our physical body is, right? And when we're releasing this and we're teaching our body, okay, we know that we've been in the distortion. When you start to communicate with the intelligence in your body and you're like, I get it. That's what we're doing. And that's why we have life and death. That's why we have sleep cycles. That's why we have the laws. That's why we have, and I'm talking about the laws of the universe. Like we have all of these things that were all based on a distortion of a reality. When we start to move our consciousness over into this frequency, everything changes. And even things that, oh, I thought I wanted this. And then you see what it really is, and you're like, oh my gosh, I was limiting myself over here because you only can see through the distortion. And that's why I'm saying it's going to be really exciting to have a group of people that are truly their mission is to find out what is it to be have wealth and to hold that in consciousness because it's going to be so much bigger than what we can even come up with right now because that's what this is. So it's I hope that answered your question. I sometimes when people ask me questions like that, I mean, life is not the same. It's like reality is not the same. Like, how do you explain that when everything has changed and maybe nothing has changed or everything has changed and everything has changed? It's going to be both depending on where you are.
Well, thank you. I love that because again, I keep sensing just this feeling that you took us into from this connecting with that frequency, with those codes, has left us in, there's still comments coming in, still feeling very peaceful, inner peace, empowered, and usual. Um, Everything is just information now, profound stillness. I felt and still feel just I am with no outside questions, following that last thought. So it's beautiful. And when we look out, I mean, I'm just sensing that this is really powerful at this time on the planet with the chaos happening in the collective. This is our home frequency. This is our empowerment frequency. And so kudos to you for working with this and going for it because that's where our power comes from, right here in this frequency, and we can feel it. I'm truly sensing that everyone felt that. So tell us more about this course. I'm going to put the link in our Zoom chat line and wherever people are watching or listening to this. But this is beautiful because it's a 12-week series, but this is that group of people that you're bringing together, becoming the
Yeah.
new. Tell us about this.
Well, what I love is that what we're doing is so cutting edge, right? It's like this isn't going to be your basic manifesting course. This is going to be learning to shift frequency by identifying in the 12 avatars of the DMT codes, which is the frequency of 963. So, what you're sensing right now is a small part of what you will experience in the course. But it's also going to be challenging you to move out of those limiting beliefs, distortions, all of those different things, but doing it in a very empowering way. Because the truth is we don't have to suffer and make things hard. We just really don't. It's what the key to all of this is truly learning to hold consciousness in a frequency and to do that through the body. Because a lot of times when people think, oh, I'm going to go to this higher state of consciousness, they think of leaving their body.
Mhm.
And a lot of even the traditions of Buddhism and all these different things, it's like, oh, and then the body's kind of left behind and it almost becomes like this burden. Well, what we're doing is we're bringing the body with us because the body has the most advanced technology that there is. The body is source. Why would we want to leave that behind? And when we start to tap our consciousness into the frequency that's releasing on a DNA level and our body is ascending, the way I like to describe it is when you go to, let's say, a yoga retreat, and you go there and you're in this really high frequency environment and you're in reflection with all these people that are there to have inner peace and love. And you're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to go home and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this. I'm never going to lose this feeling. And it feels so good. And this is my life. And then you go home and then like 3 days later, you're back into like eating the chocolate cake and not doing yoga anymore. And, and those are like, maybe that's an extreme example, but because you don't have the environment that's supporting you in being in that place. Well, when we activate our body to hold those frequencies, we are the yoga retreat center. We're walking, our consciousness is literally walking around in the very frequency that we're wanting to hold. in our daily life. We don't have to go to a yoga retreat. It doesn't matter where we are. We're the walking technology, right? And so, or the walking frequency. And then we get to play in that consciously. So I don't even know what that question was. And I don't know why I went down that rabbit hole, but sorry.
No, I love it. Thank you, because we're really feeling that and sensing it. And just the feeling and the vibration of that is so beautiful. We are walking source. And again, there's so much good that comes from that. So yes, we are ready then to manifest our dream for this year, this new year. And this is, we are the Living Yoga Retreat Center. We are home when we hold this frequency. And even just this little process that you did with us today, I hope that that was a nice little anchor for people to begin. But this program takes us deeper in that. So over the 12 weeks, tell us more about what that is. Is it a webinar that you get on, and then the support vehicle during those weeks? Each week is then an integration where we get to come back and share stories and experiences and start to see how others are working with it. What else is this format about? And again, we're going to be working with the DMT avatars. Are there, did you say there's 12
Yeah.
avatars? 12.
Yes, there's 12. So it is there a course outline where you'll have some things that you go through, and then you'll have a partner. So you're going to have a partner, and then we're going to have the live events where I'm actually teaching you how to hold consciousness through attunements. And in those attunements, it's activating your cells so that your cells know, okay, this is the information that I need to be holding. So
Mm.
when you walk away from it, you're still able to hold that. And then you're participating consciously in doing what each avatar would do. So let's say the first avatar is the innovator. Well, that's the idea that's going to come in, that's in source frequency for you to create wealth. That's avatar number one. Avatar number two, you're going to activate the communicator or the connector so that your body is holding the frequency of what it is to communicate that idea in the frequency of source, but you're doing it through the body, right? And then you can imagine you're going to go through 12 steps. So there is some practicality in this, that you're going to actually be doing something to hold wealth consciousness in the frequency of 963. But what's so amazing about it is because you're activating these frequencies and you're stepping into each avatar that is in the frequency of source, you are in co-creation with source as source. So it kind of diminishes all of the programming and the distortions, and you're so clean and clear. And when you can manifest from that stillness, it's 1 to 10. There's no interruptions. So that is my vision for this class, is that people that are truly ready to do this, they're ready to experience what it is to be superhuman. And I really awaken to what that really is. A lot of us have had awakenings. A lot of us are really high states of consciousness. To be even beyond that is what I hold for this experience.
Well, thank you for that. We are excited for this. So I'm seeing that there's this DMT scalar copper card.
Mhm.
Tell us about that and how we're going to work with that, because that's part of what is included here. How did you, yeah,
So
okay.
here it is. It's upside down. No, it's not. So it has all the codes on it, and it's a quantum technology. So we're going to be using this so that you can code. So if you need to reactivate your code, you can just put your thumbs. I mean, just me doing it right now. But you can do things like charge your water. You can sleep with it under your pillow. So it's a minute. It's activating your DNA on a consistent basis. I put it in the back of my phone as a EMF protector. So there's a lot of different things that you can do with it. I highly recommend these. They are life-changing.
Wow, that is very cool. Thank you. Again, it's really very fascinating how you've developed all of this stuff. And now I'm thinking back to the attunement that we did, and now it makes so much sense why I got warm.
Mhm.
That was an activation. I mean, I'm not even there anymore. It was really wild. It was more, it's not a hot flash. It was like real genuine heat. And this is the intelligence of our body. Yes.
So I want to talk a lot, just integrate just really quickly with the heat.
Mhm.
Because when you start to activate these codes, your cells start to move into a higher spin state. They literally start to spin faster and they start to actually spread out a little bit so that there's more space in between them. And that's huge health benefit for even the physical body. But when it starts to spin really fast, you can imagine that it would create. Oops, again. Ah,
It's okay. We still see you.
mhm.
Okay. Wow. We need to upgrade the Zoom technology here as we are attuning the Zoom frequency with our frequency.
Okay, I can hear you, Lauren, but you are stuck.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I hear you. You're not stuck anymore. And I don't see myself frozen, so that's just bizarre. Weird. Okay. Cool, cool. Okay. So when does let's see,
You, yeah.
when is there a date when this begins? Yeah, okay. And now you're muted. Okay, good, good, good.
It's glitching out, and I.
All right, we are attuning. You know what? And see, because we did this with the frequency, we are not bothered by this.
Oh, I'm glad.
It's almost like it really is. We know that the electronics need to catch up with us. So it's really quite fascinating. All right. There, on this special offer that you've brought for everyone to check out, please, you get the copper card with the attunements on it. You get the 12 DMT cards as well. Those are really fascinating. I know some of you probably already have those and are working with them, but join in this program for manifesting in this beautiful year. And there is a second option of a personal reading. So tell us what goes on in the reading, Jules.
I love these. So this is something that I'm actually not even offering personal sessions at all, except for with you right now. So that's just a highlight I want to shout out. So these readings are, I use the DMT codes, but I also use the journey cards, which are really fascinating as well. And with the evolution technology, I basically read the universal pattern of what you're holding, and then we create a frequency pattern for your consciousness to move into. So by the end of it, you have 12 DMT codes, you have 12 activations, if you will, at the end of it. And then you have a lot of guidance and clarity in the reflection that is held. So they're quite fun to do and they really are life-changing because you're being activated during the reading itself.
Wow. Well, this conversation was very activating just listening to you. So, how precious and special that is for people to meet with you. Thank you for opening your time up for our audience to work with you in those personal private sessions. Really very, very cool. Okay. In the link in the chat box, I'll send it one more time. Here is the link for Jules' class that we're talking about, and you want to check it out. There's a couple of options here as well. Um, yes, so check it out. You can, there's also in this second option, there's an abundance ascension oil.
Mhm.
And that is very interesting. What is this?
So that is coded with the DMT frequencies of 888. So we take our essential oils and we basically make them quantum oils. Nothing we do is just what it is. We always take it into the quantum. So we use the quantum technology to activate the frequency of 888. So the abundance oil is something that you can use on your pulse points or just, when you're activate. It has a little process that goes with it so you can connect into the frequency, but you can see them all as tools, right? These are all tools to activate the frequency. And then what we do with that frequency consciously is up to us, right? And that's why we always like to teach everything in a way of a process so that you have something to kind of be guided with your consciousness. And then one other thing, because this course doesn't start till the end of February, I put, and this will be on those letters that I sent for the response, but I am giving away manifesting through the evolution technology. It's a free 30-day course, and I'm giving it away for free for anyone that signs up so that they can start to attune to what the foundations of holding consciousness and the frequency of 963 and start manifesting so that by the time they get into the course, they're already well in the frequency and they're actively participating and manifesting during that time.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you for that. So we can start right away. In today's show, we already felt that and experienced it, and I'm just loving it. And again, as if anybody, we're getting some comments from people who've been working with these that they're no longer triggered as well. But for those of us that still may get triggered, this is again a frequency that we can return to and be elevated right out of it. Absolutely. We are in the driver's seat on this. All right, here we go. Let's see. There is a question. When we spin the DMT code in the pineal gland, is it anti-clockwise?
I love that question. It doesn't actually matter. It's more of just the action of bringing it in. So I wouldn't, yeah, it can just let it do it instead of trying to make it happen, let the code actually do it because it'll know what to do. But when we have like an ascended DNA in our pineal gland. And so when we're activating it, it's activating every cell in our body. So mostly that's what you're focusing on is, oh, my body is turning on, it's amplifying, it's upgrading my software system. That's the focus.
Okay, cool. And I know going back to that process when we did begin to spin it, wow. Again, that's how each of those felt differently. The first one, the two, was just this fun little spin. The second one, I think it was the five of holding consciousness in abstract ways. That was really liberating. But then the 11, wow, that really felt like, again, totally different from all of them, but really remarkable in sensing then the heat that came from that. Again, I have to say, I almost started sweating. So it's really beautiful and activating, and I can still feel what happened there. I can still anchor into it. I can still reach into it. And that's how this is life changing, as you mentioned.
Mhm.
Totally life changing.
When we have a place to continue to go in that frequency of 963, that's why this and this is so easy. Am I in my programming or am I in the frequency? It's so
Mhm.
easy because your body is always resonating. And the more we do it, the stronger it gets and the more real it gets. And then all of a sudden, the other 90% that we're turning on becomes more real than the 10% that we consider our body. This is what we're becoming. It's like, it's all of it.
Superhuman, just
Super.
activating more awareness. And it's through the DNA in our body, in our physical body. It's again so remarkable. Thank you. Another comment coming in. Catherine Alexis says, downloads expressing with knowing as you both speak. Cool. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for that. And let's see. There's I want to clarify there's three options for this special offer. The first one is the 12-week course, and the second one is the reading with the abundance oil. And there's also 4 weeks of scalar transmissions with that one, as well as the 12 DMT activations. Is there anything else you want to say about that package B?
No, I think you got it. So it's the reading, the activations, and the scalar transmissions. So that's really attuning the body. And then the 12-week course comes with the 12-week course and the copper card. And then package C is both of those, basically. It's all of it.
So you're going to want three, package C. And for those who need the assistance, because we want to make this easy for you, there's a 2 payment plan that's available in the shopping cart when you go to checkout, if that helps you take advantage of that. All right. And so that answers Jody's question. Are the two different options actually two different courses? Yes, two separate things. So check that out. And then, yes, these are recorded in case people can't make the live sessions. Is that right?
Yes, they are.
Cool. Yeah. We are so thankful for our digital world. It really is fifth dimension in its own right. And it brings us together in a beautiful way. Okay. So check this out, everyone. And no matter what item you order, you're going to get that free bonus that Jules was putting in there as well. Okay, cool. Jules, this is always so refreshing. I always leave these conversations with you completely empowered, like flying high, like a kite, right? Just loving it, loving it. Um, our final question, how long will we have access to the 12-week class recordings? Are those downloadable?
Yeah, so you'll have access to the classroom where all of the recordings and material, and once you have access, you have access. And, and maybe in 3 years we get rid of it or something, but it'll be more than a year for sure. So it'll be there for you to continue to go and tap into. And I recommend it. I actually recommend that with all of our courses because the way I create the courses is I tier them with frequency. So I know that sounds a little weird, but I tier it so that when you come in, you receive exactly the information that you can hold consciously that's going to elevate you from where you are. But if you go back and you do it again, it's going to hit the frequency of what you're holding and you're going to actually receive different information. And I know it sounds weird, but I actually code each of my classes that way so that you can keep taking it over and over and over again. And the codes that you're ready to receive, you'll receive, and you're going to hit it consciously in a new way.
I love that. I really do. And it is the actual definition of what it means to go quantum. And we felt that today, and we can infuse our quantumness. And wow, we are expanding our consciousness as well with this work and remembering that 90% that we don't use. It really is remarkable. Again, I'm just enamored by the work that you put into this. This is your life work, and you do it so well, and you're helping so many people. And someday there's going to be news articles on you in this work because we are the ones that are bringing it to life. And
Aw.
so for that, we thank everyone for it. We really, truly do. Jules, as we say goodbye, any thoughts that you'd like to share with us?
I would just say, maybe go back and listen to the activation again and then start to communicate. I love that the code started with the two. Start to communicate with your manifestor avatar. And even if that's all you take away from this and you start to experience what it is to be in a frequency of manifestor in 963 with the ability to consciously communicate in that, just see where that takes you. Be curious, have fun with it, and then let us know.
Yes. Let us know the magic that you create by being quantum. Beautiful. All right. Catherine Alexis is reporting that there are guides per avatar, so present now. Very cool. All right, thank you. Well, thank you everyone for being here and thank you for going quantum with us. Again, we invite you to check out Jules' special offer. You'll find the link here in the description box. The replay for this is immediately on this page as well. And go back and listen to it again. Jules, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank
Quantum,
you, Lauren.
namaste. Thank you. Bye, everyone. Bye. Thank you for listening to this quantum conversation, and thank you for dancing with us to the cosmic heart. As we raise our own vibration, we raise the vibration of the planet. This show is dedicated to you and all awakening hearts, as we are here to shine our bright light and amplify our love. Access all quantum conversations, special offers from our guests, and online healing retreats by visiting acoustichealth.com. I'm Loren Gailey, and from my sacred heart to yours, I honor your magnificent love and light. We leave you now with music from the universe. Music literally created by the universe, as musical notes were assigned to mathematical equations. The result is this beautiful music, available at acoustichealth.com. Namaste.